I want to talk a little bit about my boy Belal Muhammad. Love you,
Yeah,
brother.
we got to.
Shout out Jack Della Maddalena. Congratulations on becoming the welterweight champion. I think he is a problem. I think he's talented. I think he's a great kid. I can't organically sit here and talk about him. We got to talk about Belal. Belal's a close friend of mine. We were in Montreal. Cody, you were there. There's a lot of talk about how the fight played out and whether or not Muhammad should have been striking as he was, or maybe wrestling or whatever it is. And Cody, if you don't mind, if you have it queued up, Cody put a reel together from our show last week, and I just found the whole thing sort of interesting in hindsight as we look back at the fight. So Cody, if you have it ready, play it in its entirety if you could. Stacked, but I just want to talk about the main event a little bit. Belal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena. Belal said on the Anik Forum podcast, everybody talking about Jack's striking. What about my striking? Belal talks about, and I don't know if he's serious or not. I'm close to him and I don't know this. If he wants to strike, he says he's just going to strike him. Maybe not even try and take him down. What I said to my brother John this morning, which to me is the key in this fight, is really physical strength. I believe if that fight goes to the ground and Belal is just listen to you coming up here, Gresh. Man strength that will dictate this fight.
And how does Belal test that? Like, does he wait around before he really starts to get into that? Like, that to me, the first round and how Belal attacks will be very fascinating to me, because to your point, Jay, if he starts to feel the strikes, does he not abandon it, but maybe wait around, or maybe even two before he starts to try to shoot and take him down a little bit?
So with that context, right? And Gresh, what you said, I mean, exactly. I think waited till the bodies were a little bit maybe too slick to start to try to hold him down there or wrestle the way he would like to. So fascinating, right? And I hate to say it, but I knew, and I can't wait to talk to Belal, because you can be sure he'll have many thoughts on this. He has as good an IQ inside the octagon as anyone. But Brendan Schaub, I thought, had some interesting comments that were maybe a little bit against the grain, right? I could give you names of 15 fighters that, why isn't Belal wrestling? Why didn't he just take him down early? Why didn't he make it dirty? Why didn't he get in close? But Brendan Schaub sort of alluded to the fact that JDM sort of forced him into his game. And I quote, "It wasn't a case of Belal not shooting takedowns. It was more of JDM forcing Belal to stand up and trade." I think that's an interesting take. And I think he went on to say because he had success, cracked him a couple times, maybe got away from his bread and butter. But what I will say, as I watched that fight with my friend Belal Muhammad competing, is I think his striking has evolved to such a great extent. I think he has improved his striking to such a great extent that perhaps the evolution of his striking perhaps clouded his game plan a little bit and perhaps put him in a position where he was willing to sort of stand up and trade. There were certain kicks he threw in close that he looked very flexible. Belal was able to sort of do things that I had maybe not seen him. I thought his strikes were more versatile than they had been before. So I guess if I'm going to give you my opinion, it does appear to me, and look, he sort of hung around a little bit and struck with Jack Della Maddalena. I do believe Jack was more technical and more effective with his striking, but I think Belal had some pop behind his. But your thoughts overall? I've said enough.
I thought Belal Muhammad was above his ego taking over. And in my opinion, and he's been great to us and has retweeted stuff, and I know he's a good friend of yours, but to me, what shocked me is that I think it's the first time that I remember that Belal's ego got in the way. Because even in a fight where he would want to strike with someone, he doesn't abandon the other stuff. And Della Maddalena gets credit for what he did in terms of making it difficult on Belal. But when you go through 10 minutes in the octagon and you're asking questions about Belal Muhammad, why hasn't he tried to take someone down? Or even, as DC noted during the fight on the broadcast, getting him up against the cage and up against the fence, and then making it a little bit dirty. If you do want to go down that road, you're still using your grappling in that instance. And it felt like Belal just kind of ripped a page out of a book, crumbled it up and threw it away and said, I'm not going to do that this fight. And I wonder in retrospect, because like you said, he's a brilliant fight IQ guy. He's incredibly introspective, and he did end up getting touched up. I mean, I've never seen Belal's face split like that. It was after the fight. So I just wonder in retrospect if he might even turn around and say, I got too wrapped up into the whole, hey, I got Canelo hands too type thing and trying to prove it. I thought Belal was above that because of the fight IQ. But it goes to show that the human emotion can't be messed with. Sometimes it's going to get you. And I think in this instance, it got that way with Belal. Then he finds himself in deep water in the third round, and he can't find the answer. And then it really got worse in the end. So I respect the hell out of the guy. It's not like he shouldn't get a rematch at some point along the way, depending on what happens with the craziness now that he's lost.